I exist here. Now, here I am. Here I am, and I'm doing the thing. And I almost didn't do the thing, but now I'm doing the thing. Look at me go, look at me go, look at me go. Okay. Hello! Hello! Am I doing the thing? Am I muted? No, right? No? Yes? No? 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 Okay, almost muted. Hello! I like this happy time zone thing. It's cute. It's cutesy. Very, etc. Demure, whatever. All the adjectives. Very adjective. That's the autistic remix of that. Very adjective. Very other adjective. Very desirable adjective for this context. Yeah, I like people, places, and things. All right, here we go. All right, so basically, I don't have a topic. Because I just need to try to deal with the whole space management. It's in a big old fart. It's not happened. It's been okay. I'm working on my migraine. I had one last night. Actually, I have to make a note about that in my weird little migraine journal thing. That I had to take the Vyvanse in the morning. Cereal. I guess I had. And then, hold on, by specialist. Where's the migraine doctor? Took Ryza at 6, or I guess like 4 a.m. because oof. Had to take a rizatriptan. I have to go get my medication after this too. Trying out a different migraine. What do you call it? Preventative? Or no, that one is the one the insurance might have had a problem with. I'm trying to do different things. I'm trying a preventative and a first line. Yes. But that's what's going on. It's also hot and gross out. I feel a little gross. I thought I got enough sleep, but now I'm like, did I not get enough sleep? I felt rested, and now I don't. How does that happen? Hopefully my internet does not get all wonky. But okay, so definitely HCAT is going to be HCAT mode. Because yeah, it's been 3 weeks that Kyle's been out of town, and he's helped to integrate his way of managing space into the space that we share, which isn't happening right now. And I will now do dishes. I think I have to do dishes. That's the big one. I'm not going to start with dishes, but I do have to do them during this stream, so I just want to note that. I'm feeling better. I'm kind of bummed that I had a migraine late last night, because I was feeling pretty good about these Migratone supplements. I was like, oh, is that what I need to do? Is just do that? I don't know. But maybe it is this like vitamin deficiency issue, and I can attack it that way. Apparently B1 is important for stuff, so like B vitamins and like high dose, and I'm gonna learn more about that because it seems like I fit into that sort of realm. But anywho, outside of that, like, you know, was feeling a little bit more encouraged that maybe I won't have to worry about migraines, which is not great to have on top of everything else. Okay. But
hello.
that not yes, hello. That notwithstanding,
I don't know if you're sick of me yet, but
no,
my space is currently not managed well.
Yeah, no, you're good. Let's do. Mine's not either. Let's space manage. Bring the dishes in and do them one by one slowly, so I feel comfortable. Ooh, a bowl of hot water in the living room. Ooh, you know what? I might. Why don't we do dishes in bathtubs? I feel like that would be less messy, and then it wouldn't matter how messy it is. Maybe that's. But then I guess I should. Right? Like. I feel like this should all look very different. I also think that the laundry machine should be in the closet. Like that one's a duh.
Oh, like in the closet.
In the closet. Clothes, yeah, it should be next to each other because duh.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it is like, oh, but then what about other people's laundry? Everybody should have their own washer and dryer that's not that big in their closet.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
That makes a lot of sense.
Anyways,
Yes, happy time zone. Hello, happy time zone, everybody. It is 3:45.
So I think first thing, the clothes has been piling up, so I'd like to try to do the clothes that's piled up.
Yes, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm about to, like, yesterday I looked up how much it would be to have somebody literally come to my house, get the clothes, take them to the laundromat, clean them, and bring them back.
Yes.
Because I don't want to do them.
I think the laundry accommodation actually needs to be like a real one, or if we're not going to have like a person do some of these things, then we need like the structural redesigns that I'm talking about, and those then need to be paid for. Because also I'm a little bit frustrated at this point, because now that I've looked at like what disability is and when you can qualify for it, I should have been on disability for like a long time.
Yeah.
And didn't know it.
Yeah.
So I'm on some level, I'm like, I think you guys like back owe me, unless if this is all bullshit.
So long.
Yeah.
And surprise, it's all bullshit.
Right. It's all forms. Did you fill out a form? Did you fill out the right form? Did you fill it out 7 times? Did you fill it out correctly? Did you give it to the right person?
Did you get it? 1,000 people?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do all that. So anyway, so I think I keep circling back to, I'm going to have to devote some portion of my life to reforming the ADA, even though I have no idea how I could possibly do that at this point.
Yeah, I have no idea how I could possibly do that, but I do think it's important.
Yeah, it's just necessary. Okay, so laundry, if you want to work on laundry, I also do need to do some laundry besides put away laundry, which feels like very... I am Sisyphus. This is the mountain and there's the boulder.
It is. The boulder never gets to the top. I think that's what irritates me about chores so much. This fucking boulder never gets to the top of the goddamn mountain. Yeah,
and it's designed that way because it's sexist. Because women are supposed to do tasks that are not productive. They're supposed to just get you to status quo, to baseline, instead of realizing that we're productive members of society. So it's to like further make us feel like shit. I don't think it's like super intentionally designed, but it was conveniently reinforced.
Convenient, yeah. It's conveniently what it does, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it hasn't been revolutionized, but we should. Okay.
Although people would say, like, well, before, women actually had to, like, I don't fucking know, like,
beat it on rocks!
Take the clothes down to the creek.
Yeah. Like, probably the creek was easier, if we're being fucking real.
Their own butter and churn and shit. Like, yeah, but
I never tried the creek method. If I'm being honest, maybe the creek method was great.
Maybe the creek method works way better.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't aware.
Yep. It's giving, why aren't you grateful for the problems that we created for you and the shitty solutions that we also created for you?
Why aren't you grateful for this shit that also sucks?
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't
in
know.
response to the first shit that sucks that we definitely forced you to deal with because of violence. I'm like,
I don't know. I never thought about it like that, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe I just won't feel that way. How about that? How about that's the you problem?
Well, all right then, I guess. Fine then. You're right. I guess I'll go back to, like, beating shit on rocks. That's fine. Oh my god. And, like, I'm literally like, am I gonna have clean clothes to wear tomorrow? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe. I think is the answer.
Anyways, right on, Jamie. And yeah, bathtub dishes are valid.
That's our new
Yeah.
mantra. Bathtub
Yeah.
dishes are valid. All right. If clean clothes have been surrounded by dirty clothes for a while, are they still clean?
Are they still clean? I
Or
would
do I
say
need to
yes.
smell all of them?
I would say yes. It depends on what kind of
Okay.
dirty clothes is by them a little bit, I think, but yes.
Yeah, just worn, not like
That's fine.
not like gym
Yeah.
clothes or.
Yeah. If it's not like gym clothes, then I think you're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Gotta separate those.
Ooh, okay.
But I did go to Target and buy new socks yesterday because I wasn't sure if I had socks, clean
Oh,
socks.
yeah, I've done that.
So I just bought new socks.
Yep.
And underwear, actually.
And then if you tell yourself you're now allowed to throw out old ones, it's good. Make sure that part gets in there.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that.
It's
Right.
exciting. Yeah. You can break the clothes aren't garbage rule now.
You're right. Oh, wait, clothes aren't garbage? Oh. Well, then. I'm like, I don't know if this, what is this pile? What is this doing? Is this all clean? Have I just been walking past all these clean clothes? Why would I do that?
Because you can't see them.
God, I've been
Because
walking past,
grid cells.
walking past all these clean clothes.
You can't see them.
Oh, God. They're right by the door, man. Don't give me an excuse.
No,
Right
no,
by
you
the door.
get you get this is how we have our disability. It's really it's that crazy, dude.
So,
It's awesome.
okay. It is that nuts. That's okay. Here we go.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen this pile of clothing that I'm now dealing with. But this is the first time I've seen it ever. I've seen parts of it. You know what it's like? Here, this is what it's like. You've seen the preview that shows up like as an ad between what you were actually doing, like, right? But you never seen the movie.
Yeah. Right. I've seen snippets.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the plot.
Yeah. Ooh, how do I feel about dogs being autism assistance dogs? Great. I think the training is.
I love that.
Yeah, the training is not set up well and is expensive and weird. So like, my dog can do some pressure stuff, which is awesome. So there's that, and yeah. So I just think they should be free to train, because like, why on earth would you charge people who have the worst under and unemployment of any group?
Of anybody.
Anything like any money. Why are you charging them money? Like, do you also want to get blood from a stone? Like,
yeah, that's what I don't think they understand. Like, there's just like, you've got to go after the government if you want to get paid.
Yeah.
And go to the government and say, reform your plan.
Yes.
Because these people cannot pay for what like I'm doing.
Yes. Because right now we're being told we need to pay all of these coaches, and I just don't think that's true. And I think we're going to get exploited more, and it's deeply wrong, because I'm like, so am I a citizen or not? And did you mean it with the whole disabled people are citizens or not? Just not me? Okay, well, I have this.
Yeah,
it is a disability. Yeah, why am I not included? Oh, because I confuse you. Okay, so that's not a good reason.
No, that reason sucks.
Yeah, that just is a reason for people to get fired who are making decisions. So I'll come after their jobs at this point. I don't care. Like, it's...
I can make decisions. Like,
yeah.
I mean, pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I can walk by all of these clean clothes, dude. Okay, well, this sock is going
Pixie Runs, let me get you. Thanks for the follow. I'm gonna let you in. Sometimes we have a bot that like blocks people in case they're trolls and stuff, because woohoo!
And I put your stream in my Discord.
Thank you. Okay, so
I know you. Okay, good.
Let me do that.
I'm glad you weren't like, God damn it.
Oh no, you're totally good. I just have to go to my mod tools and fix that. I apologize to anybody every time that's gonna happen, because it's a, you know how like the safeguarding.
You had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If we had better tools, we wouldn't need this sloppy one.
Right.
Native to Twitch, which just don't exist. Okay, one sec. Let me get into my mod. So yeah, so if you want to look around and see what you need to be working on in your space, this is space management. I call it that because time management exists, so it's pretty simple leap and is descriptive as opposed to like everything else that this gets called, like having clutter, being disorganized, being even like a slob or hoarder. Yep, which is the worst one and one of the grossest things that's ever been broadcast on television. Yeah. Okay. And mod tools, and then you'll be good in a sec. Leave it open so I can.
I would do it, but I don't know how.
Yeah, no, I do know how. I just need to fix it. Okay.
I should. Just not a very good moderator.
Untimeout. Okay, you're good now. You can now put messages in the chat if you would like. Welcome in. Yeah, there's the minimum account age, and it's not an issue because like when trolls come in, they'll like make accounts every 3 seconds with bots.
New accounts, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you've been taking Rosie out for walks. Oh, that's nice. Because of topic and people can see how much I love her, or yes, or how I take care of her. Yes, 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 yes. I think that like also the affection, absolutely. Then they're like, oh, that's really likable. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like I may not be able to always show that I want to be part of something, and maybe I can't want to be part of things in the same way. But if they're like, oh, I see what you're intending. You're intending to be kind, and look, you have a dog that you're showing that really well. Like I totally agree because I can go to the dog park and make some amount of friends. I end up usually making friends that probably have autism, but I also can talk to the normal people somewhat, and it's nice. Yeah.
Hello, Ricky. He is trying to eat candy corn. I love this dog so much. I can't even explain. I love this dog so fucking much.
Yeah, and same thing hence with the weighted blanket. So my dog does hug time, and hug time is when he's not that big. He's like 16 pounds, and he's like about the size of my torso anyway. So he'll just like lie on me. He's a little shorter than that actually, but so same thing, like just putting pressure, and I can lie down, and my dog is like putting pressure across my chest. And I've seen with bigger dogs putting their head on your lap, and with smaller dogs putting their body weight on your thighs when you're seated as a way to get pressure. But yeah, he does pressure in a position where I'm lying down, which is really nice because he can even do it over a weighted blanket, which is really helpful also. But yeah, I always wanted a dog, and my dog was actually part of how this all got started with the space management because I wasn't at a point in space management where it would be safe for a dog. So my goal was to develop my my objective, my locus, replacing words, was to get to a point where the environment could be safe for a dog, and then that would
You wanted to be a safe dog owner.
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to be a safe dog owner. Exactly. That's the features that I wanted to have, so that my space needed to be able to develop that as well. And it worked. It's not perfect, but nothing we do will be. And I believe that all of this has led me to all of this has enabled me and empowered me to have more traits to do better modeling of these ideas that then become tools that we can use, that will be our accommodation, that we're going to have to demand. And that's the place where it gets kind of funky, and I usually derail this stream, maybe not derail, but I usually see derail is also doing his rhyming everywhere. Okay, so I often will bounce into looking at why our disability is so bad, And it is helpful because it's anti-gaslighting, but I also want to make sure that we're focused on motivation support. So if it ever feels unhelpful, please let me know. And the objective, or the
Like
objective,
demotivating.
yeah, demotivating. Yeah, I don't want us to feel overwhelmed at the enormity of the problem and lack of understanding, when what I think is possible is we are the proof of concept. And by doing that, we then have more leverage to say, hey, your focus and intellectual efforts need to be put towards us autistic people, rest of society. And actually, it won't be that huge of an investment. We're not asking you to like drag our limp bodies around your obstacle course. We don't want to be on the obstacle course. We want to do this other thing. And here's part of it that we already built.
Here's why it won't affect you very much.
Yes, exactly. You can still run your obstacle course. We'll just be over here.
Here's why it will not be a problem for you. Because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, I say that too much too, end of the day, but like the day ends. People just want their day to not be hard.
Yeah, and yeah,
That's what they want.
We want our day.
That's what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they want.
It's just a different day, and we don't want their day. And I think that's important for them to know that we really don't want that. And them trying to make us have their day is making everything so much worse. Yeah.
Like you are actively making it worse. Please quit it.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of actually need to do less, and then when we're ready to say this is what we need you to do, they step up then. Not this other shit they've been doing.
No.
So yeah, so ultimately I want us to know that this is a testing site where we test things and share what we're testing outside of this space, outside of this time and space as well. And that this is important because neurotypical people have been iterating on their ideas organically, and we need to do it intentionally. And we're also good at iterating, so that's how we think anyway. So I think it'll move faster. It will progress sooner than we might think, just based on our lives prior to this. But if we didn't have each other to work on things, then there's a obvious problem there with the process of iteration. You have to have multiple like A/B testing sorts of scenarios to feel confident in the ingredients that you're making your new designs out of. Ooh, that's relatable, by the way, the whole like praying out loud thing. Like I was Catholic growing up, and I was in like a evangelical school. It was kind of a mess. It was not a good school, but they were getting fundy weirdos, and it was but I was like, oh, I'm good at speeches. You want a speech? I'll always give a speech. That's how I ended up chaplain somehow. That did not last.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. It's a weird, long, strange story, but basically I lasted like a month, and then they're like, nope, we don't like that. Get the feminist out of here.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Excuse me, Ricky. No, I said excuse me.
Oh yeah, you also get to stare at dogs if you have a dog, right? They're like, oh, you like dogs. I'm like, yeah. How does this, if I carry the things I like, do I get to spend more time with them? Is this the rule?
And they're like, no.
Yeah. Damn it.
Yeah, somehow like the dog is like a social lubricant.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of like drinking beer. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people show me pictures of their dog too. They want to see my dog, and then I get to see their dog. It's cool.
That's great.
That happens at work. I get to talk about it every time because like a lot of my tips go to my dog because he had elbow surgery and has like a special elbow now and has like watered like swimming class things. So then I'm like, oh, thanks for donating to the Merlin Fund. And then I get to show them my cute dog. And if they have a dog, I see their cute dog. It's good. Yeah, I'm more afraid of larger dogs too. But I have, my husband has a really big dog and I've known her for a while now. So it's fine. She's okay. But in general, it's a lot harder to have a bigger dog.
We had a Rottweiler for a long time.
Mm.
So like a very, very big dog.
You've made this day a special day
And
by just your being you.
he was the
There's
sweetest.
no person in
Like,
the whole world like you. And I like you just
that
the
is
way you are.
that's another one from our group if you want to let them chat.
Oh,
You can.
awesome.
You
Thank
just
you
let
for
everybody do it? Okay, good.
following. Thanks for
Awesome.
that.
No worries. But
No
yeah,
worries.
like he would just he thought he was a lap dog. So he would put a lot of his body weight on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot.
Also, yeah, being attacked by an animal is very traumatic. I got scratched by a alley cat because they had kittens, and I was like, kittens, and just not good. I'm still kind of less comfortable with cats. I'm also allergic, so it kind of ate it on two ends. But
Are you really?
yeah, makes my eyes kind of itch, or if it's bad enough, like they kind of swell up a bit. Some cats I can cope with better than others, though, and if I take like a Benadryl, it's mostly fine. But it's one of those things like if I had a partner that had a cat, it'd be an issue, or we'd have to like Kyle would like a cat someday, but we need to get like a special allergy friendly cat. Also, I'm making the decision to donate the shirts for work that I don't like because they're too small and they're lady cut and I hate them.
I hate lady cut.
I
hate it.
I've been made fun, well, not made fun of, but like it's been pointed out multiple times because like we're having our late summer heat wave in the Bay Area. We just get that because of our weird climate.
Yeah, it's gotten hot again here too.
Yeah. So everyone's like, aren't you hot wearing a sweatshirt? I'm like, well, I don't notice it all day, feeling like I'm being squeezed like a sad sausage. So no.
Yeah. I mean, I have like my uniform is like a jeans or like sweatpants when I can get away with it, but like jeans for work. And then like a huge t-shirt and a huge sweatshirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Ooh,
I take the sweatshirt off to go outside and that's it.
Mm-hmm. I like things that have certain points that make contact and certain points that don't. And I also don't like there's like an aesthetic aspect of it too. When I walk by, if I see it, I'm like, ew. And then I feel it all fresh. I feel all the uncomfortable sensory stuff all over again when I see it. That's also unflattering. If something's like at least flattering and there's sensory issues, I can work through that a lot better. But if it's also like it makes me look bad, I'm like, ugh, like I almost want to vomit. But that I can understand people being confused by that, like, oh, is that like body dysp something? I'm like, well, you just throw me in a different outfit and I'm fine, so no.
Right. It's not about my body, it's the clothes.
The clothes.
Like I very early understood that it was not my fault, it was the clothes' fault.
Yeah, 100%.
Which when I had to get a flower girl dress when I was 8 was a problem.
Yep.
I was 9.
Yeah, I had a problem with the flower girl dress too.
Really? Yeah, because everything was scratchy. Everything.
They actually let my grandmother made me a special one, and I became a ring bearer with my brother, and I didn't match the flower girls because I couldn't do it. So she made me, I think she made it like a
Yeah.
satin out of the same material she was making her dress out of. So, and then I
That's
ended up as
awesome.
a ring bearer. Yeah, because it didn't make sense aesthetically. I was like, fire. It was blue. It was really nice.
That's hilarious.
hmm
See, and I can't do like Pixie can't do the turtle, like the boat neck or scoop neck or whatever. Scoop neck. What is it? Circle neck? I don't know what it is. I can't do it. Crew neck. I
Crew
can't do
neck.
it. I
Yeah.
like I can't do V neck. Crew neck
hmm
I can do. V neck I can't.
I
Feels
can't
weird.
do turtleneck. I can't. Crew neck has to be right at my collarbone. It can't be lower.
Hmm.
That begins to become
Yeah.
a problem.
It can't be where it's trying to show off my cleavage.
I hate that. Absolutely hate it.
I hate that.
Yeah. It also feels like I don't even have that big of a boobs, but if like your cleavage, if you were to do a handstand, your boobs would fall, and everyone would see your nipples and
Yeah.
stuff. And like I don't like feeling that unsafe.
Yeah, and like I don't know that I'd like do a handstand, but like I don't know. What if I had to like got I don't know if I got in a weird position somehow. I don't know.
Right. I want to be able to
Yeah.
move in any position and not be more unsafe than in the other position. That's weird to me.
Yeah. But I get it. I also understand like not wanting to have as much like having as little fabric on you as possible, and that
Mhm.
cleavage
Oh,
may be a
also I
you
I
know
I might have like a social reason why it's so intense. Like the boys, I went through puberty before everybody else. So I had boobs coming in at like 10 and it was bad. And like 8th grade boys were doing shit at me. And that's when I started especially wearing sweaters all the time.
mm,
I wore sweatshirts all year
mhm.
long. It's
I wear
sad too.
leggings and really long shirts.
It's sad too because I was like, "Oh, cool. Like I can wear a training bra. Okay, that's nice." Like I had no idea what was going to happen.
I had no idea either. I was in like the fourth grade.
Yeah. I thought it was just going to be my body, right? Not
Hmm.
their property.
Anybody else's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had people that we couldn't wear spaghetti straps in school.
Hmm.
Um, but like we did that like late 90s thing where we would
Oh
wear
yeah.
a t-shirt and then put it on over that.
Yeah, I
What?
remember. Yeah, those were really
We looked
popular.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the craft.
Or like a thick strap, like
mm.
tank top,
Mhm.
right? That
Mhm.
wasn't, and you put the skinny one on over it.
Mhm.
It's so dumb. Now that I think about it.
Thank you, Jamie. That was thoughtful for you to like empathize in the embodied sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like to not have to think about it,
Right. Yeah.
It's
And you're
wild.
already thinking about so much as a autistic person anyway. It's like, dude, I need a break. No wonder the presentations come out so differently. Like that
Hmm.
alone. Like you got to be kidding me, man. Like and granted like that's why it's so important for us to have time to talk about it and to bring it up so then we can just get over processing it finally instead of like why are you guys so upset? I'm like everything that you made our lives like
Yeah.
like I don't want to have to do an
Everything.
exhaustive list, but like having the chance to go through it quickly every now and again lets me finish. Um yeah. See, okay, my solution, Pixie, I don't know if this would work for you, but so sports bras I can cope with, but they aren't the best. Um really nice ballet leotards, that's what I wear like all the time. So like but you can't get just like whatever leotards. They have to be good. Like Elevate is a very good brand and you can try one of their leotards and see, or even like they do like it's not quite a sports bra. They'll do like a top that's like almost like half the leotard and it's yeah, so it cuts off at your ribs, but they usually have like the band around it is really comfortable. Like the material is just stretchy and you don't really feel it, but it's secure. So it can hold some boobage too, which is nice. It's worse, obviously a lot of ballet dancers don't have a lot, but if you, like, it would be like a shelf lining is what they call it, but that's been great. And I found that out because of doing ballet. Yeah, no, men's clothing sections are so much smaller, and it's not fair. It's not fair, and it's like it's there's all this pressure that like it can't be a special interest because you have to be shallow or something like that in order to like clothing. I'm like, no, it's art. I'm quite sure people get Academy Awards for costume design, and especially if you're going to give them Academy Awards for period dramas, that means the fashion of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s is art. Like, so that means whatever we're doing now is also art. Ah ha 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 ha! I just proved it. So yeah, I want to do another stream sometime because I have so much custom content on Sims of like going over fashion options for everybody, so people can be included in like the art aspect, and also not, like you don't have to, but know that it's a choice, and people are artificially limiting this. Right. Well, the thing is, like, it's so interesting. It's not the privilege not to care. I think what it is, I don't want to go too far into feminist thing. I mean, yes, that. Okay, it's not just that. Let me start that over. It's not just that. It's basically saying that you're making a fashion statement of shitting on people with fashion statements is an option that men can do to try to like assert something about how they're better. Because look, their real good qualities are deep down inside. And then, but where are those men that behave that way? Where are the good qualities exactly happening? Where are they hiding? I don't know. So there's lots of ways that men who want to reinforce the system actively can do so. Not that, yeah, like not that like that's a simple thing. It's definitely not. But so yes, and it gets all funky. Yeah, and I'm working on convincing myself that what other people think of what I wear isn't any of my business. I think like the only people that it is useful is if it's game recognized game and they're like, whoa, good job on that, and you're like, yeah, high five, yeah, you know what I mean? Like you both vibe on the art side of it, or whatever you're expressing yourself on your physical person, where they're like, oh, I like that show too, or oh, I love that color. You're like, yeah, I also love this color, woohoo, like. So it's okay for people to like it, but they actually need a good reason to like it. And if somebody dislikes it, I'd rather know why they aren't more concerned about wearing what they like than that. And if there's like a context reason why we're not supposed to wear something, they need to make the rules a little bit more explicit. And that's like a lot of those can be solved through just a little pivot in like how we think about it. Yeah, it is expensive too. Yeah, exactly. It's an investment. It's yeah. But if it becomes a special interest and you're limited in other forms of special interest, it's like it also is worth it. Because it just like helps you to not go crazy. But the whole thing is definitely quagmire and doesn't get to just be intrinsically motivating. It has to have all these social ramifications and pressure that just ruin it. But that's why it's important for us to have our own spaces where things aren't ruined. I think that's the main thing about space management is like you're building the space where your stuff isn't getting imposed on. The stuff that you've collected and that you see in your own like appreciative fashion. And this is us affirming that that's what these things mean to us, and also having potentially the opportunity to just get rid of stuff that we don't actually want, that we have been told we are supposed to have. Like that's tricky. And I don't think of that as decluttering so much as like demolition. Like just you need a space where you can build what you need to build. So it's okay to then remove all the stuff that is irrelevant to the building that you want. You're not going to use the scaffolding for a completely different kind of building. It's not fair, and it's not what other people are doing.
What's it called if something happens every other week?
Oh, it's weird because it could be bi-monthly or I think it's called bi-monthly, but that could also mean
every other week is bi-weekly.
Right.
Is it? Okay.
But isn't it like it can
because of paychecks?
Bi-weekly. But don't people sometimes mean like it happens twice in a week?
So the definition is weird because it means both. It means occurs every 2 weeks or twice a week.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Our language is stupid.
So you could also say bi-monthly if it's every other week because most months have 4 weeks. Because it could, how dumb. Anyways. Yeah, you can just not wear bras too. Like stupid bra dumb.
I didn't really.
Yeah.
But then it got dangerous, so I stopped.
Yeah, depends on what your boobs are like also. Yeah. And society has opinions on boob size that you can really just shut up about. It's like, well, if you didn't want that to happen, you should have grown a different size of boob. I'm like, not how that works. Hi, Hokey. Welcome to an awkward time to join the stream.
Every other Saturday. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm getting through the laundry. And oh yeah, okay, no, I'm making this happen. I think as I'm walking around, because space management involves walking around, maybe there's a slight bias to using some of the doing as arriving metaphors in our culture, besides that they are overwhelmingly populated in the language. So there may be a little bit of a bias towards that, but I'm still going to work to eliminate and replace with doing as building metaphors. So I'm saying like, I've made progress. I'm like, I've changed what this couch looks like. This couch has different features now.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Reiki infused yoga nidra. That sounds fun. Oh, so why I changed progress? Actually, I should be more specific. So progress means movement towards a goal. Like I've progressed as opposed to change of the features of an object because of my doing as arriving, doing as building metaphor. So that's why I change it. So that like I don't use the metaphor of navigating spatial environments when I think my motivation is completely reliant on the other way of understanding environments, which is features of objects. And if an object has certain features, you can then infer behaviors or features of the environment. Like if something's wet, it might be in a bathtub, right? Like for example. So I'm looking at the features of the object. So that's why I'm trying to do it. And our language is overpopulated with doing as arriving metaphors, which I think is like a more existential problem. And sometimes I'll go into that, build into that model. But then you can understand where it's like why I'm so adamant about taking time to replace metaphors that talk about a three-dimensional space that I'm going across, and instead talk about a three-dimensional object that I'm holding and manipulating. But it's different, right? So so if you enjoy the stream and come through, I don't think it takes very long to get used to me doing that, right? I don't know, because I'm me. But it's part of the project of the space. That's part of what we're doing here. Am I also is my internet still working?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just checking.
I've just been quiet because I've been typing things.
Okay, double checking. I had to check because my internet's had some problems lately.
Yeah, you were a little robot-y before, like earlier in the afternoon, but I think you're fine now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and capitalism, I think capitalism is actually a product of doing as arriving language. I think it is manufactured by it, and that doing as arriving language exists to the extent that it does because most brains can do it. And it's an older technology. So like doing is building, which language is a construction of humans, right? So all technology is constructions of humans. But doing is arriving, all animals do. In fact, doing is arriving is as old as when we were just a wiggly worm floating somewhere in the bottom of the deep sea, right? That's much, much older. So the fact that our language is descriptive of that process reflects the evolutionary origins.
So, like, something that I've noticed is if I break things down small enough, I get to this point where building and arriving feel like very similar.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That makes sense to me. I think, technically speaking, we don't really do one without the other as humans. However, the problem is we could theoretically just arrive, right? Like I can just, even though I've organized myself in ways that I forget that I've built it. Like I actually walk differently because of doing ballet, even that was constructed. But I can forget that and simply go to the place. And if I'm holding something in my hand, I can use the metaphor of my fingers as like little tiny people. Like we even do that, you know what I mean? Like we'll do the whole like crawling with your fingers like they're two little legs. So we have a sense of that like the object is its own little globe, its own little planet that we're going across. But the product, the result of building is intentionally and probably permanently changing the features of a thing, which we call creation or destruction. So while I'm destroying the dirt underneath my feet to an extent when I'm walking, unless I'm crushing roses or something more obvious, that isn't what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this goal, and whatever my body does to the environment is secondary concern. Whereas I think with autistic people in general, and this again, this diagnosis may change a bit, but I think the root difference is there's attention on the roses and how the roses grew. Like, why are they growing? And if I want to know that, I may have to go somewhere, right? Like then I have interjected a goal, a thing that requires movement. But why am I doing it? It becomes really different. And like my why is a lot of how does that work? Why is it like that? Whereas most of the world is like, well, it doesn't matter why it's like that. That's just the way. They'll even say that. That's just the way it is. Do it.
They'll just say it doesn't
there.
matter.
Yeah. That's where the trophy is. Go get the trophy. It doesn't matter why we did it like that.
Here's when I've noticed that the why doesn't matter though, is with people. So like, you know, let's say I say something to you and you're hurt by it, right? And I'm like, but you shouldn't be because I didn't mean it that way, right? And well, I don't understand why that hurt you. Well, really, it doesn't matter why, right? Like, ultimately, like, do I value being right? Or do I value your, like, what's more important to me?
That's so hard because that's hard for us, I think, because there's a proposition there of two models of the person. One person saying, this feels like it hurts me. I may actually have a very strong argument that it doesn't. But that's not going to help the person in the moment either.
Right.
So
it's not going to strengthen the relationship.
Yeah.
And what's more important, right? Like the most important thing is, at least it doesn't have to be, I guess. I guess you could be like, no, that's not the most important thing. And I guess whatever,
Well, it's
okay.
tricky. It's tricky because like my go-to is to then go away actually and say, well, I don't think if I go with what you're saying, I'm actually going to be maintaining your or my health because my model is too in conflict. Like my model would suggest so then
And
I
that
have
may
to go
be
research my model.
the answer too,
Right.
right? But like you said this and it hurt me. Well, but I was joking, right? Okay, but I didn't think it was a joke. Well, why not? Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, interesting. Yeah, and my bias is to keep answering the why part, but I think I don't know if that's do I have a tolerance? Do I really have a tolerance for that, or do I just think I do? Is another question.
Right? Like, honestly, you may not have a tolerance for people who don't know why. Right?
Right.
Is a different thing altogether, right?
Yep. I have a hard time with that, especially if they say they know why and then they don't know why, and I'm like, okay, well then who knows why? Nobody knows why. Wait, what are we doing? And then I have like, I kind of shut down off that too, because it's like, well, how am I supposed to know what's the right thing to do if everyone's deferring?
And the only way I can look at it, like for myself, is there are a lot of things that are just triggering, or that trigger hurt feelings. I think trigger is like an overused word, but like that trigger hurt feelings.
Yeah.
That we literally just hadn't processed the answer for yet. And maybe aren't ready to process the answer to yet. Like, I'm sure there are lots of things, like, you didn't really know me before I realized my mom was abusive, right? But like, I'm sure there were a lot of things that caused me to feel uncomfortable or uneasy or whatever because of how I grew up, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it because of how I grew up.
Right.
So, and maybe you don't have the tolerance for that. Maybe that's true. And that could be something that either you say, oh, well, I don't want that to be the case, and so you work on it, or you say, I'm fine with that, and that's all. Either way is fine, right? But then it's all it just continues that back and forth choice modeling.
I'm gonna re-listen to this one too. I don't always know what to do about a conflict in models. Like I feel like that's always the emergency. And if someone's like, maybe there's a way I can reassure people that like I'm not going to cause them additional harm, and that like I feel really confident in my model first approach, and that like it might look like you're going to be in more danger if we just worry about the model, but I actually don't think we are.
And maybe you need people who are open to that, who can do that with you, right? Or maybe those people who can't just aren't your closest friend, or maybe they're your acquaintances. I don't know, like going down the hierarchy, I guess, but maybe they just have a different purpose in your life.
Yeah.
Because I'd say there's only like maybe 3 people in my entire life that serve the purpose of like listening to me cry, that I feel comfortable like being that upset with in front of. And that's okay that not everybody is that person.
Yeah.
Because it would be a lot if every person were, right? Like, if it was, you have to be somebody I can feel comfortable crying around, or you're nothing, right? Like, that's a little strong. But I could do that, right?
I preferred that. Is so interesting. Like, that would be a lot easier because I don't know when this situation is going to be too much and I need to cry.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I can't, if I don't see that ever being possible, then it's not something I will invest in, really.
Right.
Like, they may be around, maybe they're around for some reason. Like, I work with them, or I don't know, whatever, right? they're somebody else's friend and I see them, but they're not somebody I'm going to be really investing in very much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like outside, like one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
But if I feel like there is the possibility that they're going to be one of those people, but I say there's like a couple people right now in my life that like aren't that person, but I feel like could be that one of those people. And so I'm investing in those friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know I could cry to you, you're done. You're already on the list. So like if I don't talk to you for however long, like I know that I could just call and be like, hey, I'm fucked up. And you'd be like, all right, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, but there are a couple of other people that I feel like if I need to like start I need to have that degree of like, because like before, like in the very beginning, like we talked a bunch, right? Like a lot. We needed that foundation, I think. I think we as autistic people need that like all the time foundation, like never leave me alone.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
Before we go, okay, now I'm good. I know where we are here.
Yeah.
I can always come back to this. But we have to do that first.
I kind of have to see people a bunch of times in a bunch of different, I guess, interactions, or like it's almost like chemistry, right? Like a chemical reaction. I have to see, okay, you act like that there, that there, that. Okay, I get it. Okay, cool. And then I'm not going to have a lot of questions when there's a new set of circumstances. I'm at a comfortable threshold where like new circumstances, I'm not going to be shocked at this person's behavior. And if they do something very shocking, usually I'm like, oh, are you having a psychotic episode? Like, are you okay? Like I kind of know where that line is of like, oh, they're acting so differently that something's changed that might need intervention.
Yeah. Like I have to know that, right?
Yeah.
So like I think too, if I hadn't like come to see you and I knew that was important for me,
right,
to make you feel like a real person.
Yeah.
Like, and there's that possibility with a couple of people in my life right now, like they're close enough that I could do that. And so like it feels, like it makes sense for me to do that. But like what I didn't realize is for a long time is that other people don't think that way.
Right. Like, I actually don't know what they're doing if not that, to be honest.
Like they have close friends, they have occasional friends, they have casual friends, they have
how do you know what's crazy? It's like how do you pick which one goes into which category if you haven't seen them in all of these things to then have like a predictive model of this person? How would you know?
That's the part I don't know.
I think a lot of people just like don't have that high of expectations for friendships. So like like they use friendship more as like a way to escape your problems together, like getting drinks together, or like take your mind off, because a lot more people can be compatible for that kind of thing versus for this deep understanding kind of friendship, or like hobby-based friendships. And it's easier, like if I feel like people can get to a level of somewhat regulated by just checking off the boxes of like, okay, I have this group of people to do my special interest with who aren't assholes. And like eventually you might end up actually getting close with a couple people through that. Then like I see some people doing this really intentional, like, what kind of things do I need in a friend? And then there's like this phase where like they sometimes like pick one possibility of what could work. And like, because I feel like for me at least, I could have, like this or this, like what you were saying about the different kinds of environments. Like maybe I've seen them in like X, Y, and Z, or maybe I've seen them in like A, B, and C. But with a lot of the like reflect intentionally and figure out what you need in a friend, people sometimes come up with like one way of doing things that isn't the only way that works for them. And like it can be tough, like, finding that balance. And, like, it can also be kind of hard enough that, like, the randomness tends to work out in the meantime. Like, people just come across a couple people where it, like, works. And, like, well, also, you know, a lot of friendships don't work out because of things that could have been resolved if people had better self-awareness. So I do think there's, like, value in developing that. But, like, for me at least, it feels like a lot of work before much payoff.
Right.
Which is why I understand why people who are, you know, 55% happy often don't bother.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, because then okay, I've noticed people will do activities that are like kind of life phase dependent, and I never did that. Where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we're in our early 20s, so we're gonna do this, or we're teenagers, so we're gonna do this, and so that didn't happen. But then I also think, like, there's a lot of complaints about people no longer having friends because they have kids and their friend doesn't, which to me is like crazy. Like, I don't understand that.
I don't
Oh
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
My college roommate, so we were, like, pretty close but not besties. And then she got married, and, like, she said she was gonna be, like, around, asked if we could meet up. And then, like, as she's on her way, she says, like, she's coming with her husband.
Ah.
And like, I
Yes.
just found that interaction really awkward because I don't really vibe with him. And I'm like, are we just not gonna hang out one-on-one anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they'll bully
And
their
it's like,
kid.
I mean, I get it. She's busy, like, having a baby, and but it's like all our interactions have been with, like, her wedding party, and then this time, like, with her husband. And I'm like, yeah, I do want, like, maybe she, you know, like, maybe this just means, like, neither of us needs it because we've never been, like, that big of a support system for each other post college. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people, aside from, like, maybe, you know, their partner and their, like, top, like, 3 or fewer friends, if that, they're just like, here's what I'm doing, come along or don't. And that's, like, how people manage to have, like, 50 casual friends.
I was talking to. Oh, hey, welcome in. I was talking to one of my clients. She has ADHD and late realized and everything. So she's, like, older than me and has, like, a whole career. I think she's, like, maybe in her very late 50s, I think. But yeah, so anyways, context. But we talk about neurodivergent stuff, and she's like, well, how many friends would you like to have? And I'm like, I think 4. And she's like, that's actually a lot for most people. I'm like, it is? Like, I was like, really? I was like, I'd like.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
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 I didn't realize that, but
It
apparently it
depends,
is.
like, what you define as friends. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
No.
The define as friends. I was actually going to go right onto that. So, like, I was like, well, I want 4 people that, like, probably we're going to continue to talk to each other, because I'll have, like, a rotation of people, and, like, and I'm sad that, like, I don't maintain friendships, and
yeah,
I don't really know why, and, like, it's in my diagnosis paperwork that, like, Shane doesn't understand how to do or what to do to maintain friendships, like small things that you're supposed to do. I forget the exact wording. I should actually memorize that so I can warn people.
That's putting it all on you, though. Okay, I feel like, especially in the Bay Area, most people don't care that much about maintaining friendship. Like, they prioritize fun and convenience, and they're busy and broke.
Right.
So it is not on you. Like, you got a great relationship with your partner, And it sounds like you have at least a couple friendships. Okay, like even like the regulars in this server. I feel like that's like
These
a
are
deeper relationship than most people have with like their second best friend.
These are my closest friendships.
Like, I think you're already there. I think your bar is just so high that you like tell people you're not meeting it, and they maybe perceive like the stereotypical autistic person who has like no friends. And like when you hear that narrative, maybe you're perceiving it, maybe you're like relating to it.
It's
but like
it's hard though, because
if
like
you hear like stories of neurotypicals who say they have no friends, like, and like they're, you know, or like some autistic people too, you know, if they're like, I haven't talked to anyone in 3 weeks.
Right. Well, I guess
like, yeah.
it's hard because like I know the kinds of friendships we have. I do well in this online environment relative to others if I can have my own space, or my friends now have some spaces too, and we're playing around. But those are my first real friends like that. And so like it's almost like if I'm friends with people that have like their show and tell treehouse and I get to have my show and tell treehouse, that's fine. Yeah, like I mean it is Autism Club, by the way. I saw that in the chat, but also that but then I'm like, but I kind of want to have like, I kind of want to figure out like, how do you like have a friend you do things with outside? Because like Kyle's my only friend like that, which is good. That's good. Like he's my best friend. But also I'm like, I'd like to try that more. And I haven't.
High effort things, you know, like hosting gatherings, like whether it's special interest based or like intellectual based, or like really curating who's there, to the point where like they're so invested in those things that it can be kind of hard to just find people, like have like a hangout squad that you like hang out with regularly. I'm kind of lucky, like spending short amounts of time in the Bay. I'm like, I'm in town, who wants to meet up? And people prioritize me more. But like I do find that the like people hanging out, it's often based around a thing. Versus like in Chicago, and I've heard this about New York a bit, it's like the opposite extreme where sometimes people pick up new hobbies because their friends are into it. Like they find one group of people, and it's often like from high school or college, and it can be really hard to find a new group. So I found that the Bay Area like has been this really great place for, you know, finding stuff to do, finding people to see every few months or couple months. But like there can be this unique friction to getting to this point of like someone being kind of your go-to. But on the plus side, the fact that many people don't have that does mean like there are a lot of people who are down if I make the first move, or you know, like even if I want to talk about something, versus like in Chicago I've been told, yeah, hang out with the same people for a few months and then we'll have bandwidth to hear about like what you're going through.
In Chicago, do they stay open later than us too? Because I've always wondered about that too. Like, we really don't have like a nightlife because all the restaurants are closed by 10.
Oh, in New York, the bars don't close before.
They do. Is that like something that you'd like, as like more late night stuff?
I mean, it just seems, not necessarily. It just seems like because that's part of the factor, it's like maybe eaten the whole problem alive. Like all of the activities are not as expansive, or like there's not as many choices because that one's not there, so it just like it constrains everything, kind of, is what I'm wondering. I don't necessarily want to do late night stuff, but it's definitely like just like a point of like data comparison that maybe that's why it's so hard here. That's maybe my location. I don't really know any different. I mean, it was a little bit better in Vancouver, and they're open later.
Interesting.
In New York, they're open till 4. The bars. And like it does keep people it does force the restaurants to stay open later. So like you can always get food at some point. Like if
Right.
it's like, so it does encourage you to kind of like just keep going, because not keep going, you know, in like a partying sense, but if you're out, like if you're already out, right? Like,
right, you can get to that point. Yeah, I feel like where you get past the superficial and to the kind of like real. It's like you can have, you know, a couple hours for the special interests, and then get to like real talk.
And then you can go have drinks, or you can go get dinner, or you can go like just hang out and chill somewhere, or you know, like there's always, or there's like a cool little place to go get a milkshake, or there's a cool little place to do this, or there's a, you know what I mean? Like people know and kind of move on to something else that's of interest, as opposed to like we're here and then when we're done being here, we're all gonna go home. And it's probably within walking, so you don't have to get in your cars and go there. Like you can just all walk together to this next place.
So in the Bay, has it always closed early like that? Because I heard that it's, okay.
Literally my whole life, yeah. And like by the time I don't think it was ever different. Like I don't think, I mean I would have, I mean maybe it was different in like 1960, but yeah, like the bars close at 1 a.m. or 2. Public transit closes at midnight most places, and even most buses aren't really running past 10. All of the shops close. Even on the weekend, they close like at like 6. Like Sundays, everything's down by like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I tend to underestimate how big of a deal that is, but like I think it's one of the only transportation systems in the world that doesn't ever close. Like there's a few, but most of them at some point close down, to clean or whatever. But like the subway is one of the like literally 24/7. You can get home, and that's the thing. If you're out drinking, you know you can get home safely no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. So there's never a like driving issue. There's never. There's always a bus. There's always a subway. Right. Like sometimes there's some. Sometimes they'll like they'll tell you they're gonna close, but like not really. Like there's a way to get home, right? You're not really ever gonna be stranded for the most part.
Right. Yeah, I never really thought of it as like, oh, maybe that's just like a cultural thing, and because I don't know different, that could have been making it harder. I mean, obviously the autism is doing it too, but like it sucks not having, like, you know how people are like, oh, okay, I've seen like memes of this, like, oh, I got invited and I love canceling plans and stuff like that. I actually feel a lot of pressure to go because it's so rare to have an opportunity to have any plans. Like, I don't know people that do things, so I felt like maybe all the people that do things are like hiding somewhere.
I do find there are like a lot of kind of subcultures of like people who do a lot of stuff, and that's like their way of socializing. And then I do think there's a lot of the two extremes, like either that or there are like, I find it hard to make friends with a lot of people who have a partner because they just don't like want to hang out
without them. Like you don't like doing things without that person. Just I don't want them there sometimes. Although my best friend is really good about that. Like my two really good friends, like my best friend since I was like 13, like she's really good, and she's also had a baby. And like my two best friends who have babies have been really good about not letting it become the only thing. Is like, sure, we talk a little bit about the baby, but like it's not their entire personality anymore. So I thought it would completely change who they were, right? Because I thought it was like this thing that like nobody had control over for some reason. Like the baby was, I don't know, like a fucking parasite was like, I have your life now. Like, I don't know. Right. But I think it's bad, but I think it's much more of a choice than I thought. And they have really.
It also depends, like, on their situation and what else they got going on in their life. Because, you know, like their financial situation and like who's helping with the baby, like What are their childcare options? Are their childcare options family and friends who now, like, that means having to pour into that safety net as well and not being able to engage as much with external people, which, like this friend I was talking about, it's all family now.
Mm.
And like,
That's a good point.
yeah.
They
I
do
feel
live
like
in New York,
special
so like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
They're so far away that it doesn't really. But they'll make time to have phone calls with me, you know, that are a good couple hours long. And, you know, it's sort of like as long as some people hang out with each other, which is weird to me, because if I'm not going to see you all damn day, I don't have time for it. But they definitely, you know, we'll talk about the baby a little bit, but like, you know, it's not what we talked, like we had things to talk about before the baby was born, you know, so like we still do. I don't know. I just thought it would completely change who they were, and it didn't. It's really refreshing, which is why I'm really like with the idea that if Jane and Cal want to have a baby, it's not like they need my okay. That's not what they don't need. That, you know, you see, like otherwise I'd be a little nervous about it. But like, you know, it doesn't like I'd be like, oh, it sounds like a good idea to me because you know I've seen like it doesn't have to be completely who you are as a person.
No,
but yeah, I think also not drinking probably does change things for people. I think if you don't drink, probably, you know.
So interesting.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to socialize though. I mean, I've kind of because people would invite me out sometimes at work, right? And I would just go, but I would like more so observe than anything else.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I have kind of an anthropologist view.
Correct.
Of
yes.
how people.
I've literally brought a journal and not even meaning to started writing down observations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Let's see. Okay, time check. Oh man, why does this feel so slow today? We have one more hour. I got my couch. No, not that. No, just the HCAP part, the Housekeep-a-thon part. I got the couch cleaned off and I'm still doing laundry somehow because 3 weeks, I guess. It's not.
Yeah. I took the trash out. I tidied up. I put things kind of like where they go. Like I took out the trash. I put the to-be wash laundry in a pile.
Yeah.
Like now, the to-be wash when I get to it, which is like 5 loads, I put in a different pile.
Oh, nice.
As soon as I get laundry, is one pile, and then these clean clothes were in these dirty clothes. That's a different pile.
Nice.
And I made the bed, so it looks tidier.
My couch looks nice. Oh, Merlin's sitting on it. Oh, this is a good. I was like, maybe I'll take a picture of him. Like, that's weird, right? No, my dog's on it. I get to.
Yeah, you get to take this. Do you know pictures like normal people take of their dogs? So many.
Oh, I did not know that. Merlin, look at me. Don't itch your ear while I do this. Merlin, look at me. No, Merlin. He has to go to the vet anyway to get his allergy shots. Merlin, look at me. Look at me. Don't do that. Yes, look at me. No, don't. Nope. Look at me. Be cute. Merlin, look at me. Yeah, there we go. Did I get it in time? My phone just died. God damn it. Did it? No.
Make myself feel better. I wish that was a thing I did. That sounds awesome.
Wait, what do you do?
Well, Pixie says that they organize and clean to make themselves feel better, like after when they melt down.
Wow.
And I really wish that I had.
I wish that had been installed. It did not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I ended up here.
They go on runs.
That's nice.
Isn't that amazing? I know.
Yeah. I stretch. That does help.
Oh my God, I sit and I lay down and I hibernate.
Yeah, I enter the dream world in my mind.
Like that's it. I zone out. I disassociate.
Yeah, yep, that's what I do. There
In
is a
social settings?
castle. Sorry, I was just gonna start singing "Castle on a Cloud." Please go on.
Oh, I was just asking because I was just like half paying attention because each cat, like, did you say you do that in social settings or just in general?
Both. But in general, I think, like on my own, I do it too.
Yeah. I
My
don't
own most.
even like know like what counts as dissociating.
Oh, go ahead, actually.
I mean, I guess for me, it just feels like when I completely turn my brain off to the reality of what's going on around me, and I focus in on something ridiculous and dumb. Like I will watch the dumbest crime shows, and literally, I'll just say, I'm not gonna think about my life, and I don't. And or I'm like playing a video game, and I'm like, literally, the only thing I care about right now is this video game. I'm not gonna think about my life, and I just don't. Like I can turn off thoughts pretty well. Like not all my thoughts, but if I'm like, I don't want to think about X, I'm just not gonna think about it. I can't. I'm pretty good at being able. Now I don't know if that's good. I don't know. It makes it sound like I think it's a skill. I don't know if it's a skill, but it's
I
pretty
mean, there are a
easy.
lot of people who want that ability.
Like when my dad died, like there were some shitty thoughts, right? Like around his death, and like some really things that if I really thought about like how he died and all this, like that's a hard one. That's a rough one, but I mean like it's the first thing that came to my head. But I was like, if I think about that, all it's gonna do is hurt me, and I can never know. So why would I do that? And so I just stopped, just quit it. And they didn't like. I don't know. It just didn't happen anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel that, Lauren. I feel like that's me and support when we play video games together.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really like why I play video. That's why I play video games, to be quite honest with you. There's a point, there's a purpose, like something I'm trying to get to or do, and it makes the goal thing a lot easier and a lot simpler, right? It's like Mickey Mouse wants you to, because they play a lot of Disney Dreamlight Valley, like Wally needs you to go to his house. Okay, you know what? My only job in life is to go to Wally's house right now. So I make it my only job for however long. So
me playing Wolf Quest when I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's like healthy. I don't know, but
I think in small amounts, like it's important to be able to turn off.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I think I have to. Sometimes I have to.
It's witchy hat season!
I just started laughing because I just see a bunch of witch hats.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah! I'm going to enjoy this.
Witchy hat banana. Jane, when's your birthday again? It's a team number.
Oh,
what is it?
October 18th.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's coming
Close
out.
to Halloween.
So hers is soon, yeah.
I always liked pumpkin stuff. Oh man, the cookie's
Mine
so
is very-
good. Sorry.
Mine's even closer to Halloween, Tara.
Oh, cool. When?
Me and Kyle have the
Or,
same
you don't have
birthday
to.
for the 5th. The 5th of November.
Mine's the 6th
Oh,
of
cool.
November.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Kyle share a birthday, and I knew that Lawrence is the day after me. So.
Yep.
Wow,
Because you looked at the chart.
I did, and I still have it. So.
I looked at it again recently.
I just
too,
collect them, by the way. I just have
yeah, I'm
them.
super
How did I
interested in
exceed
it.
the
Like,
character
honestly,
limit? There we go.
Like,
So
oh, you
I
just put, oh, that's
I just
good.
have everyone's charts because Discord astrology bots exist.
Yeah, honestly, if somebody like, I would love to like just have it really like explained to me.
Can I just say an aside? So I have friends that are DJs, and like in the DJs, they have their own emotes, and people like spam the emotes. It looks like I'm like in my own DJ channel of nothing.
It really does. especially in the stream one.
Yeah.
Where that's all that's in the stream chat.
Yeah. So good.
There's lots of those.
Also, Lauren, be careful because you might just open up one of my special interests on accident.
Look, I'm not kidding. I really want to know. I legitimately really want to know what it means. Like,
yeah, me and I don't think you've talked to Braidsphere at all, but both of us are in the server.
Oh yeah, I totally want to know what it means because I'm also starting to get into tarot a little bit. Like very, very little bit, right? Like I'm just learning about it. But starting to get into that kind of area of life. I would really love to know what it means. And then I did my human design chart too. Oof.
To that.
That opened up a whole...
Human design is a Kyle question.
Yeah.
More than me.
Oh, you guys.
A whole new...
I was done a reading for me before.
I just texted. I was interviewed by a director of a school for neurodivergent kids, like autistic kids. I was interviewed, and it's going to be on the radio on Saturday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's
She's
really
saying I
cool.
should be a public speaker. And I was like, I will do that.
Oh, I would love to do that. You would be so good.
Thank you.
I mean, you're already doing it.
Yeah.
She
said it to me, she's like, would you ever do public speaking? Like, have you ever thought about it? I'm like, sure. I don't know how to do that. Would you help me? And so, like, I don't know how to set that up. Like, what do I do? Like, walk out in the middle of the street and be like, I would like to public speak now. Here you go.
Man, I guess that counts. But like, I feel like
that's not it.
Yeah, I hear that. Someone might have thoughts on or who's done it is like Matthew, I told you about. Yeah, like and also another thing is like to like set your boundaries about when you want to be paid.
See, I don't even know how much I should be paid.
Yeah, I'd be like, you want to pay me $5 more? That's like $5 more than anyone's ever paid me to talk. That's awesome.
You know what I would probably do? It's not manipulative either because it's true, but I'd be like, so one day I would like to reform the Americans with Disabilities Act. Pay me as much as you think I need to be able to do that.
Yeah. There you go.
In one lump sum, please.
Well, yeah, or you know what I mean? Like, you do the calculations. I don't know your life. Like, you buy your own groceries, so then give me that thing according to that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of like blurbs, like yeah, aligning with a cause is one way that I see a lot of people doing it. Like, I see a lot of delicate language around like, I need money for this so I can do this, and like work goes into it.
Yeah, like what do you say?
Pay me so we don't have to do these public speeches anymore. This is a stopgap solution.
Please make it so this doesn't have to exist.
Yeah, exactly. Though that will take resources, and again, like I think it's gonna be the reform of the ADA. That's my little drum that I'm gonna bang. But yeah, it's interesting because like if I do have opportunities to do that, that's why I would use it. That's what I would use it for. That's what needs to happen because that's what needs to happen. Like, duh.
Yeah. That's all I would. I mean, now that I think about it, like it's what I was kind of thinking, but like really, it would just be specifically for us to get the funding to be able to, and you'd have to go back to the ADA to do that.
Correct.
So like like the disability funding that like obviously, like from even that question that I asked the other day, it sounds like the majority of us, our lives would be completely different if we just had housekeepers.
Correct.
Right? Like that's all we're asking. Like once a week, someone to come in and help us clean our house. That would be life changing.
Because the issue is like otherwise they'll think it's like a self-esteem issue. I'm like, so should I just not feel like shit about my disability and that will fix things? I'm pretty sure that's not how disability works.
It's not how it works.
Yeah.
But that's not a huge, that's not actually it's that big of a cost when you think about like the return investment on it.
Right, and if we
and
start
how big of a difference.
if we start messing with it, then you can iterate on the system with which you intervene.
Mm-hmm.
And also we may again find that what we have to do is have like a bill that produces funds specifically for remodeling. I don't know why we don't have remodeled homes. I really don't, because it's physically impairing.
Mm-hmm. Like, and really, or like homes.
I know why!
Things that are built.
I get it!
Okay.
Because the other ones are obvious doing as arriving impairments. We have the doing as arriving makes it impossible for us to do the doing as building, so they don't understand that you can be impaired at building, or I guess our arriving disables our doing, which is the part that's not disabled. Our arriving, doing as arriving is disabled, which disables our doing as building, which is the part that isn't disabled, which is why they're confused. So we actually do have, we'll never need the arriving ones in the same fashion as what they typically understanding of a disability is. Obviously, if you help somebody with doing as arriving impairments, like they physically can't move around or access things, right? Duh, they're going to be able to build. But they're not understanding that, like, we actually want you to be able to move because of the building part.
That makes sense. So then what do we advocate for? Would we advocate for the things that will just help us with the arriving? Like,
well, so the building, because we're never going to contribute the arriving thing. We'll always show up at the wrong place with the wrong stuff at the wrong time to some degree,
right? But
and that just has to be okay.
Right.
But if we show up with really good stuff at basically the right time, with basically, the right place of a delivery, we should be fine. And maybe people can come here instead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I am the factory, come directly to the factory.
Okay.
So what we need is... Yeah, okay, so for example, I think we should rip up all the floorboards. We should rip up all the floorboards and have like a modular station that's under the ground that's also like watertight and all that stuff. So like you need storage for your building materials all over your house. And then anything that's a job that only gets you to baseline that isn't productive, like laundry, needs to be primarily automated. And any involvement that you have is just to like streamline your ability to build. That's it. Like, so we basically go ahead. Where's the money come from? That's what I'm.
Put money?
So I would put money. Go ahead.
Like, where would you put it first?
Where would I put the money first? Research and remodeling. Like, we would have to have like test rooms that people spend time in.
Yeah.
And like probably the first thing you would do is build, like test modular test rooms in some sort of a laboratory that people with autism volunteer to go participate in experiments. Like, does this help you? Does this help you? Does that help you? And then you could probably try like a housing unit and then test out things. They've been doing this with elderly people in some like just very small projects where like the healthcare is in the building. Some of the fitness and amenities are in the building, so you can try that, and then you also try these modular units, like these modular systems in the units in there. So you would do that. So because we have to, and then you start remodeling people's houses, and you have a bill to remodel houses.
Here's where I think we'd have to do something in addition to that.
Yeah.
Not instead of,
in addition. Yeah.
So I think there's a research component, and I think that's more like your base of expertise. And then there's like a practicality day-to-day while that's getting worked out component.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's more where my brain goes, where I'm like, okay, well, in the meantime, right, like, let's just, at the very minimum, get everybody a housekeeper.
Right. Everyone needs a care. Yeah, we need to assign all autistic adults a care person. Like we need.
Or if that, like,
at least once a month.
Becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yes, at least once a month, I think. And I also think maybe if that becomes even, okay, and to cut costs, right? Because I'm also thinking, like, how can I frame this so other people aren't like, I'm not getting every autistic person their own personal housekeeper. Is like almost like roommates, where like it's all a bunch of studio apartments, right?
Yeah.
In a building, and it's all people or one bed, whatever, right? If somebody has a partner, but most of us live alone, want to live alone, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
just us or like one other person. And so, family households, you get your own housekeeper. Otherwise, here you go. Let's put you all in a house, and like there's a staff of 2 or 3, right?
Yes.
Which is better, like cost efficient, right? And there's like a matchmaking system of like, who does anybody really love cooking? Where's the special interest cooking person, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe that person, you know what I mean?
I will literally do movement classes with people for free, like, because I will do them, and then I will special interest them. So it's not like we do, some of us have special interest skills that are related to this, but we should also acknowledge that the system will be partly us getting to fulfill what we can do, and partly finding out what none of us can do. We don't know where those lines are, and we're getting blamed for it, and it's not fair.
It's on one hand, you gotta support people with what they can't do, but then you also want to capitalize on what they can do.
Right.
You don't want to you want to help them fulfill those things.
That's what I want to contribute as a citizen, but as the kind of person that I am.
And I think there would be a concern that people would like never leave that building. But I think if I felt more comfortable overall in my environment, curated for me, that I would feel like I could go out in the world more.
Right.
Like, because it was more so regulated, supported, and I could like go out into the world more often.
Yeah. I have a thought to add. So I like the match people up and like have everyone do the things that they love doing better than the like sign everyone well, like, okay, like housekeeper, I feel like would probably you know, be like a net positive without much risk. But when you get into like care person territory, like, then there's a lot of judgment of like, this person should not be allowed to live independently, or like, you know, this
but
person.
this is the misogyny aspect though, because women are doing it. So the mothers and the girlfriends and the wives of the men are doing it. And it's really bad because they're not acknowledging that that's happening. So it's like, I agree, but also I kind of almost want to force the conversation, because I'm like, hey, guess what, you guys, you have a caregiver, you're genetically related to her, or you signed a contract in like a courthouse so that it will cost a lot of money for this person to get away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I just think that that's like a conversation that it's really important to be delicate about. And I noticed that the whole conversation around care work and caretaking and emotional labor, like, it's one of those things that, like, the privileged have people doing it for them already. And then there's like, when people without those privileges, if they need like a tiny little bit, it's like, oh, well, if you're not even able to function, why should we like help you
try and function you a little bit?
Yeah, and like I heard the stat from Matthew mention that like 80% of autistics in France are like in like nursing homes.
Oh my god.
I guess different people might have like different perspectives on that. Like I could see some Americans maybe even wanting that as an option. But,
honestly, they sound
awesome. Like I'm not sure, like where I'm really.
We shouldn't have anything that they make. Like, I don't want their nursing home. I don't want their current caregivers either. I want the ones that are like trained for us and built for us. And I'm saying that probably our accommodation is so confusing that the process of even building that has been elusive, let alone obvious that it's necessary. Like, even when people think they want to build it, they're like, well, let me just make up what autism is, and we're not going to do any further research to differentiate. Or even like, okay, like, I think this goes beyond autism. I think this is like all neurodevelopmental disabilities, and can even be categories of the DSM I think has drawn inappropriately, where I'm like, I think that person over there is actually disabled, but they're calling that one like a personality issue. I'm like, like, so yeah, there's a lot of like challenging, I guess, restructuring of paradigms that would have to happen. But that if they don't, then we are being gaslit.
And then I also deal with the problem of like the gatekeeping of not gatekeep, but like the barriers to diagnosis, right? That are like that there's based on gender and race and ethnicity and
resources, financially,
gender identity, resources, financially, like this a differing opinion. Like I don't think if I'd gone to another psychologist, I would have been diagnosed. I think there's a lot of people I could have gone to where they would have told me no. I think I just happened to find I've had such a long history of being in a community. Because Asheville is actually it's a very good, solid community for autism. Like people move there when they have autistic children because the area has this reputation or whatever, and they have so many resources. So I think if I hadn't gone to get it there, there's a lot of places that would have told me no. So I think you also run into that.
Yeah.
So it's not without like problems, but I think that like if those things, and I think too, if you had a housing situation that was for kind of level 1 autistic people, I think that they would have to be in charge of it. Like the people living there would have to be the, like, I don't know, governing board basically.
And
because otherwise I wouldn't.
We'd partly be the researchers, and possibly what I would like to have is like opportunities to be contributing to labs as kind of okay, let me start this over. I think autistic people need a new role in society that's quasi-volunteer until it's so obvious that we should be in the field that we just get recruited.
Because they'll learn.
That's, I mean, right now I'm doing something, I said that in your thing today, Lauren. Like, so I had a weird interaction. I want to share this because it's relevant to this. So there's someone in my work that I'm going to be like mentoring, I hope, and passing it forward because she's like 20, a little over 20. And I was saying how like all of these dancers and people in the movements arts mentored me. So I have like 20 years of experience. And everybody else in my job right now has a degree in kinesiology, but not me. I don't have a degree at all. So what happened is she was saying, I want to be Jane. She said something like that. She's been very cute. And then this guy, Dennis, who, by the way, has copied a lot of my mannerisms, and I can't help but notice this now. I've noticed it before, and I was like, And he's like the lead flexologist, but he's also going to quit because he got a job that he was more interested in, so he hasn't even been there that long, like maybe like 5 months. Perfectly fine guy, but this whole interaction of like, what the hell is that? He goes to her, you'll never be Jane unless you go back to school and get a degree. And I'm like, first of all, she's going for the LSAT, so she just got a degree going for law, okay? I don't even have a degree. I was like, honey, that's not how you make a me. That's not how you make me. And you're saying I'm as valuable as someone with a degree, and I'm telling you I didn't get made that way. I basically was allowed to be a volunteer in a world of dance and never, ever, come out of that the way that somebody who is a full-fledged member. I've never been a full-fledged member of anything. Who would want a full-fledged member like me? Until I've proven that I actually have something of value. Then they act like their system made me. It didn't. So we need a new system that makes successful autistic people. And that's what I'm suggesting with this volunteering thing. They don't get to take credit for me. No.
The therapist basically, like, he listened to me for so long until he had me be the one to talk to his teenage clients.
Mm-hmm.
That he, like, referred me to parents to talk to their teenage clients about being autistic.
Then the whole thing is that's what I'm saying, is that we would run it, but also we would gradually, I hope, be learning the skills to run it that we are good at in a volunteer fashion, and that I think we need a volunteer program for autistic people, and that supplements our income so that we're actually part of society without having to get trophies to be allowed in the room.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, there's no reason for you to go back and get any other letters at the end of your name. None. They teach you nothing. And I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about it. And most of the time, like, those letters mean nothing. Like, I learned nothing. I will tell you right now, I learned nothing new. Actually, I did, but about my own family tree, which I don't think counts. I really did not learn very much in my master's for special ed. Very little. But I paid the money and I got the letters. And then they let me do the thing. I was just as qualified beforehand. And it's very irritating to see that, like, to have to work into that hierarchy thing.
Say to us, and this is a problem with, like, the whole, like, oh, you have a caregiver. Well, if you need that, then you can't possibly contribute this. Well, we won't let you.
Right.
We'll come up with another reason why, besides the fact that you probably can't get these stupid letters anyway behind your name and this piece of paper and all this basically this self-congratulatory honorific to the society as it stands, not to us. It's legitimizing the society, which I'm saying is failing us. So like, why should I need to legitimize something that doesn't even want me there in the first place, and also, like, costs a lot of money to get, right? And I don't have money. Like, none of this computes. But also, it further scapegoats the autistic person, saying that, like, oh, well, you know why you haven't made anything of yourself is we didn't give you these stupid letters, and we also won't let you in any buildings that you could contribute in because you don't deserve it, because you don't have the letters. Like, make it ever make sense. And then you have all of these crises of people who are not in professions they want to be in, not doing a good job of it because it paid well, quote unquote, but now they have $1 million in debt. So they also can't shake up the system, but they're not the type of person that builds systems. They're the types of people that fill in forms and memorize things and regurgitate them. That's not us. It's not ever going to be us. So, like, there's, like, a societal problem that we are a canary in a coal mine for anyway. And, like, not to go too far in that direction and be like, revolution, but, like, if I'm supposed, yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm supposed to say that their system is working out well, it's not even working out well for them. So why should I be scrutinized for my disability? It doesn't make any sense. I'm like there's lack of insight into their own problems, let alone mine.
I do notice, like, especially in, like, the neurodiversity and disability space, like, a lot of really, like frameworks that are kind of put out there as if they're comprehensive when they're really not. And so, like, I'm not surprised, with, like, the not learning much from the special ed program, and, like, I'm sorry that you had that experience, because, like,
I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but
yeah,
it's disappointing because I would like to learn. Like, but I do know that teaching is one of the things you learn through experience and not so much through degrees. So I kind of figured, like, I was like, this is going to be kind of annoying. But we'd ordered food and food is here and I haven't eaten all day, so I'm going to go do that. This was awesome. I love having this space. So, but I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I think the not degree thing, it's not an issue for me because I made that choice consciously. I think it's just interesting that, like, life experience is valued, but you're also supposed to get a make sure that the people with the paper rubber stamp you. I'm like, why? They don't know anything I know. They were stuck over there stamping papers.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's not to be contrarian either. It's just I think we're at the point where that's maybe needs to be raised. It's like there's not like an appeal to authority. Okay, there's not like a competition between, I guess, quote unquote life experience or like non-traditional. There's buzzwords for this now, like non-traditional academia or education or something. I forget. Anyways, unconventional, yada, yada, like pretty fluffy words for it. Another title made by the title machine that says if you have a title, you're good. Like, I think all of that's ridiculous. Like, if autistic people can explain simply with like understandable familiar terms some of the problems, we're going to have to do it, and we just simply have a disability. So in order for me to say like what I really want to say, I may have to start the conversation with the current tools around disability, which are very much appropriate and should be used. And in fact, if we keep advancing this language, I'm sure it would help a lot of people who are already more, I guess, accommodated. But it's still, this conversation is falling short because it's obviously not describing reality. And instead, we're back to, please let us know if the people that we appointed as our leaders should be leaders. I'm like, well, the answer is still no. And why do I have to do this in order to get accommodations? This is boring. I need the accommodations yesterday. So does everybody else like me.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like a lot of the people who don't find it boring are like doing as arriving types.
Yeah,
Although like
because it's exciting, because they get a hit.
I don't know like how much they want it though, because I have met these neurodiversity or disability advocate types who like dropped out of programs, like, you know, like degree programs, because like they weren't accommodated, and then ended up like they'll preach like they want to do as building, but like when given the chance, they'll like sign up for so many paths to trophies that they couldn't possibly have time to do as building. But I do like somewhat empathize as well, because like in my own journey of just like trying to get to a place of stability, I have sometimes like been like, oh, doing as building thing, like it's not going to get me anywhere anyway, so I need to do this arriving thing. But like I know, like, okay, in the past when I've had a certain amount of stability, like I didn't really care about signing up for even more doing as arriving. But I see these people doing, yeah, like getting involved with 15 things at once, to where like I don't know how anyone could come up with actually thorough like models for that many things.
It down. It doesn't narrow it down, right? Like, because if you lose sight of like, okay, let's say you want to build this one thing, right? And you're like, okay, can this help me build it? No. Can this help me build it? Yes. Can this help me build it? No. Can both of these things happen at the same time? Yes or no. And then you have to, you see what I'm saying? Like, you should be actually narrowing down your options if you're able to lead with, this is what I want to build. And I think probably what I'll end up doing is literally everyone I talk to will be like, well, ultimately we need to reform the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like, even if somebody proposes like, hey, this is what I can get a grant for, or this is what I'm interested in, I'm like, amazing, we need to reform the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like, let me just tell you why we need to reform the Americans with Disabilities Act. We need to reform, you know, just like, I'm going to have to hone in on that. I'm pretty confident that's it. Like, I don't see any way for the things that need to be built to actually happen without reforming that. Like, that's the only way, because we're outnumbered. Like, I need the people with the trophies and the stamps to be like, okay, we'll make an exception for you. We're going to be an exception. That's what disability rights are. They're exceptions.
So something that I've often seen like before those kind of, like, before, you know, the biggest trophy people out there, like, you know, okay, something like that. I often see like little prototyped versions of it, which like your cognifactoring is like that at like, you know, a really like low level. And yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of building up to that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe if there was like you know, like I know you were talking about building your own website at one point, but
Mm-hmm.
like just some kind of place that's like, okay, here's at a high level, like what we've tested and found. Um, that might help with that kind of thing. Again, I'm like,
It's tricky
no,
because then the problem
yeah,
is, in order to refine it, because I'm making a proposal about the human brain, I need to make sure on some level that the model is right. And this is like,
oh,
you know what I
absolutely,
mean? So then that's grants. That, like, all research is based on I mean, with minimal exceptions, but like it's basically public grants. So then whatever the public
yeah,
system already thinks is important is going to be where that money is hoarded. I won't even say allocated. It's already sitting.
yeah,
And I think that system's stupid too. But if I'm saying, like, we need to make a special case for this group of people, then we need to know who am I talking about and why. And I
yeah,
I have like an I'm treating myself as the lab, right? Like, because I have the
yeah,
brain thing. Like, my brain is doing this, so then I'm experimenting on myself. But that, if we had to iterate on anything one person at a time, that's not how science works or social
yeah,
civilization itself. Like we don't do that. So it's like, and I'm still disabled, so I'm supposed to do that while being actively disabled. What?
yeah,
It's been a lot.
mhm,
It's really hard. Like,
yeah,
sometimes I beat myself up, like, why can't I make, greater, uh I guess, show for my effort, even though I feel pretty confident in a lot of it, because I can't, that's not how testing works.
right, yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I'm no like expert on the grant world. Um, yeah.
You have to be an expert on that too. See how there's like compounding problems here. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. When things are like siloed and it's like you have to learn
hmm
like all these different cultures.
and if it's all, like, let's say you have the people that are doing the advocacy thing, right? And they've convinced themselves that this is the direction they need to go. The reason why I'm not convinced is how early I started reading self-help books. I'm like, oh honey, that came from business people who were salesmen. Self-help comes out of
Mm,
salesmen. Don't
mm,
don't
wow.
Yeah, Earl Nightingale. He's the father of self-help. He was a salesman, coaching other
Mm,
salespeople. That's what it was. It was a strategy. And now he ended up developing it into his own form of philosophy. Some aspects of it
oh wow.
mirror growth mindset from Carol Dweck, who I really like. Great. But no, ultimately
Mhm.
it's how to become a salesperson who feels relatively ethical about what they're doing in 1960.
Wow. That reminds me of this book called Demand Side Sales that I read. Um, which I like, yeah, this is sometimes like fine in some ways, but worse than nothing in other ways where because he had a good point of like to first understand people's needs before selling to them, but it's not a complete solution. Like it's not, you know, a complete understanding of them. And like some people think it is. And like I know like the author of the book isn't saying that directly, but like yeah, there's this field of people who like think that book is all you need.
So, just for the record, Earl Nightingale the Fifth, okay? So, The Strangest Secret in the World. This is the start of this. You can go listen to it. It was recorded first when he was 29, I believe, after reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And this thing is recorded, like the most common one, I believe, in 1950s and again in 1960. So I think I ballparked that approximately correctly. However, I wanted to look this up. He died of complications after heart surgery in 1989. So the guy made it to 68 and then had a fucking heart condition. So I don't know if I want to build my life based on a dude who probably was way more stressed out than he was letting on, who dies of a heart complication during surgery for his heart. Nah, I'm good. At 68, which is kind of young, actually.
Mm-hmm.
For a heart attack, that's super young.
Mm-hmm. So maybe that's not that. Maybe that crowd of people are not going to help the people with disabilities that also affect us in stress levels.
Yeah, yes. It's frustrating when like people combine like, oh, we need to be exclusive, but also the group that's developing this disability thing is like this fast-paced startup environment. Like I applied for this job, which like I like want to be optimistic still and I hope I get an interview, but it's like they're doing a lot of things very fast. And like their goal is to empower disabled entrepreneurs and like people who want to work at startups too. And like I think it's really great all the things they're thinking about. I just don't know how much bandwidth they have to think about any of them. Because they already created a program for founders and like I saw some mixed information about that. I'm not sure like if it's been going on like 3 years then that's good, but I saw somewhere else I like got the impression that it's been like a year, but anyway, and then now they're like starting a program for training people to be like disabled people to be executives at startups. And I just saw like I didn't find any information about it anywhere but that job posting. And they want to launch in like 8 different cities. And I'm just thinking, like, that's a lot.
And we're the unorganized ones?
Sorry, what?
What are they
And we're the
launching?
unorganized ones?
Oh, sorry,
that
sorry.
sounds concerning.
A program to train executives, like to train disabled people to be executives at startups. I don't know, like, what kind of backgrounds they're gonna be recruiting for this.
Okay.
Yeah, like I have lots of questions. And they're gonna have, you know, people running these programs in like a bunch of different cities. And this role that I applied for is to kind of like make sure that the programming is like tailored to the needs of people with disabilities and also and like kind of oversee stuff and I'm like I have so many questions about like who's doing what and how well is like stuff actually being done versus like saying we did it.
I have so many. So
And,
it's people with disabilities broadly or just
broadly.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Wow. Has it ever occurred to them that some disabilities, being a CEO of a startup, would be the absolute wrong solution to their disability?
So, their current programs, like the ones that are for people starting, like, it's not. I've seen some different programs, and I'm not sure what they're running now, but it looks like I saw at least one place it was mentioned that they help all kinds of entrepreneurs and not just like people who want to grow a really big startup. And for the executives, this is a new program, and I don't know like what kind of people they're going to be recruiting, but like I do think the population exists. And how affirming this program is depends on like their expectations. And so like there are people who are really good at coding who could be like the CTO of a startup, or like people who are really good at marketing or like what have you. And startups have like very different needs for that founding team versus an executive at a massive trophy kind of company. And that's like part of why a lot of people, like a lot of former executives elsewhere, struggle in the startup world. And like when I'm like trying to have startup gigs that last more than a couple months, and people are like, oh, go work at those companies for a few years first, and I'm like, that's such a doing as arriving game. Like, I just want to work with the startups. And so I love the idea of there being programs focused on that, and then there being one for people with disabilities. And I am like curious where they're going to be recruiting from, because a lot of these other programs, they're for the people who've already gotten all the trophies working at the big companies to now train them to learn how to think startup-y. Versus like, I want to see more programs for people who never spent a decade in that doing as arriving path as well. Yeah, because it's pretty unfortunate when it's like, okay, there are a few resources in the world that teach people how to build, but we're gonna reserve them for the people with all the trophies. Like, okay, so the people who've forgotten how to build then,
or never learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like, I have lots of questions about this, but just like reading the job description, I'm like, there are so many things happening here. Like, and they're partnering with different organizations, like Google, for example, for their content. And I'm like, and it looks like they're trying to like adapt that for people with disabilities. And like, I just wonder like what kind of thought is going into that.
It's interesting. This is why. Can I read you an excerpt from The Strangest Secret? Because it made me think. Because I knew he used the word entrepreneur back then, which is like an early adoption of it. Because that term, because people don't feel comfortable saying owner of a company, or like speaking from the perspective of like, I work at a company, I'm a salesperson at a company. That sounds gross. Or like, I own and operate and I buy and sell companies. That sounds gross. So I think they're avoiding something there. So okay, so he has something called the definition of success, right? This is the part, and it's right by this. So, and I take umbrage now with this. I first read this when I was 10, maybe. Okay, in fact, I listened to it on audio tape, not even read. I listened to the man himself. Okay, the definition of success. First, we have to define success, and here is the best. I can even say it like him. Hold on. First, we have to define success, and here is the best definition I've ever been able to find. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And then he says it again. A success is a school teacher who is teaching because that's what he or she wants to do. A success is the entrepreneur who starts his own company because that was his dream and that's what he wanted to do. A success is the salesperson who wants to become the best salesperson in his or her company, he says his, and sets forth on the pursuit of that goal. By the way, in the original one, he says a wife and mother who wanted to be a wife and mother. He says that. So just want to add that. A success is anyone who is realizing a worthy, predetermined ideal because that's what he or she decided to do deliberately. But only 1 out of 20 does that. The rest are failures. Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist.
Change their minds and learn and improve.
Right. No. Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist, wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book, he says, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity. And there you have the reason for so many failures. Conformity and people acting like everyone else without knowing why or where they are going. We learn to read by the time we're 7. We learn to make a living by the time we're 30. Often by that time, we're not only making a living, we're supporting a family. Poof, a woman appeared. And yet by the time we're 65, we haven't learned how to become financially independent. And by the way, 3 years from there, you drop dead, sir, in the richest land that has ever been known. Why? We conform. Most of us are acting like the wrong percentage group of the 95 who don't succeed. So conform to the 5% who do. He is saying, behold the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. You too should project this ridiculous cartoonish caricature of a leader, and then you too can pretend you have powers you don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely see, like, nowadays, like, a lot more people starting their own things just because the systems are getting worse in a lot of ways, and I see, yeah, like, both extremes. Like, you know, the most arriving people, like, a lot of content creators, they'll say whatever gets them the likes. And then, like, on the other extreme, there's, like, people who want to build so hard that they cannot stand a 9 to 5. So, like, yeah, and it is tough, like, when groups for entrepreneurs attract the whole spectrum if they don't, like, explicitly niche, you know, like, narrow it down. And I noticed, yeah, like, when they all when they already are, like, niche in some way, like disability or neurodiversity, then, like, narrowing down even more beyond that, like, I haven't seen it done before, and that's, like, something that I was thinking of doing, but I don't have a good enough model to be like, okay, 100 people, here's what we're gonna do. And, like, a lot of the people who want to help have, like, doing as arriving just so they're like, you know, 1% less, well, 1% less arriving base than the next person, and so they think they're building. And, like,
because the bar is so low for that, right? Like, the show and tell, look what we made this week room is usually empty, inhabited by crickets and tumbleweeds. So then if somebody shows up with, like, their popsicle sticks that they, you know, glued together with spit, we're like, wow, like, that's not helping.
Yeah, for real. So yeah. I'm in a tough spot because, like, I don't, like, have the energy or resources to, like, develop my own model. But yeah, like, a lot of times working with people who are, like, saying they did it when they didn't, like, could be worse. But I mean, maybe I'll find exceptions.
You might. I mean, it's like maybe they're sowing the seeds to their own destruction in a beautiful, helpful way, because I do think doing is building people. If you say, like, hey, and they understand this in a very deep way. Somebody's like, hey, we want you to be some of our top arrivers, and we're just going to have you skip the line. We'll be like, okay, and then we'll set the line on fire. Like, just like, like, we're not doing this anymore. Bam, and, like, you know, just done. Not that anymore. Not to kick the ladder down so no one can climb up. Just like shear down the entire ladder so the whole thing hits the floor.
So I love that in theory. So, in like a world where the person doing that is, if they're running their own business, then they gotta have like another model ready, or they won't have a business anymore. And if they've been hired by someone else, if they tear everything down without having something better ready to like swap in for it,
sure,
they'll just be replaced because the person who hired them will still want the thing to run.
totally, totally makes sense.
And yeah, which
But
is why I'm like,
that's the question of the research, though, right? So then, what you want to say is like, okay, what do these things actually do when they're running? Like, what is the cost? What is the human cost? What is the well-being cost, and who's paying it, and have they agreed to pay it, and are children paying it? Because they are. Like, we're able to actually hold people by the data if we are smart about it. And that's why I think like some of these language learning models are so helpful, because we can discuss and work this through in kind of like a Socratic method, or like where you're like, okay, let me argue for this and for that. What is the data showing? And it's just iterating to form meaning, which is what I'm arguing autistic people do, and why I feel more comfortable with it sometimes as a friend. So what you'd want to hold people to the wall with is the data, and say like, we're going to do this differently because we need to have these people not get hurt anymore. And conservatism is basically an endless game of gaslighting, saying like, oh well, the people are going to get hurt worse if you do this, trickle down economics or economics, whatever, right? So they're basically holding people that you're trying to keep in mind as a threat, as like, well, you don't. They're holding a gun to their head and being like, don't make me pull the trigger. I have to keep my hand on the lever of this machine that is also a conveyor belt that's going to grind them into paste. But I'm not going to shoot them while I still get to pull the lever for the machine that's going to grind them. So that's where we're at. So we're being held hostage. And you need to show that, like, look at the pile of paste. Unfortunately, I think is what you have to do.
Yeah. I agree. So like, yeah, I feel like in a legislation kind of setting, yeah. Versus like in a business setting, like,
right.
Yeah, this whole project is no good.
Yeah.
It doesn't tend to go over well.
No, right.
If that turns out to be the case, then yeah, it's probably better to just walk away. But if it's like 70% right, then like that becomes this tricky, like, okay, can we bring up like things that are causing problems, and like come up with solutions together, and like have a process around that, and like open with people about what is and isn't working. Yeah. Like, can we hold space for that, basically? Like, okay, like, you have potential to actually like do as building, but that means like tweaking some things here. Like, do you care about, and like then at that point, it's, if they do genuinely care about doing as building, then they might like oblige some. But if like they really care about the trophies, then like you got to have an argument about how like that would actually lead closer to the trophies,
because they have and they usually have like hundreds of thousands, if not like doctors have like $1 million in student debt. So of course they can't kick down everything that they still are supposed to pay $1 million to. Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, if you convince them that like, oh, this initiative of yours isn't gonna go anywhere, if it's actually not accessible to 99% of the people you're trying to help.
Okay, check-in, by the way. It's 3:01, so I'm going to go try to get this first line migraine, not preventative, if I'm starting to get a migraine. Yeah, I'm trying something different, hopefully. Yeah, we'll see. So I gotta go do that, but I mostly did laundry. Like, there's a little left to be done.
Yay.
Yeah, it's less of a mess. I didn't do dishes. I'm gonna try to do that before Kyle gets back. Cause I did get paper plates or paper bowls and plastic forks though, but I just started using them a little bit too late in the process because I forgot. I can't do it. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
I'll try to have a topic in advance. Next week Kyle will be back too, so it'll be a little bit better. And I'm open to like suggestions for topics too. So I'll make a space for that.
Oh yeah. I definitely want to watch your like theories of autism one at some point. Because yeah, like that's something that I want to learn more about.
Yeah.
Do we want to do like a Discord poll or something?
Yes. That would be amazing.
That's something that could definitely be done.
Yes. I don't know where it should go. Maybe.
I don't know either.
All right, let me look through here.
If you want everyone to see it, announcements.
Yeah. Okay. Announcements make sense. Okay.
I had that thought, but was not sure. But yeah.
Okay.
Especially since it's a lot of Discord people here. Plus, maybe some more people from Discord will show up if they see the topics.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that whole conversation where I was like, I want to keep coming to these, but I've gotten triggered too many times. So
yeah, no.
Yeah. I talked to you during that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for pointing out the little thing in the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to explain where it was.
Yeah. It's very nested and hidden, but I'm glad I know it exists.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm gonna go try to get medication. Woo.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because insurance is also like, you don't have the right kind of migraines at the right kind of frequency for us to not be an asshole about this. I'm like, if only I could just give them to you instead, and then you can decide if your policy makes sense, eh?
Right? I know. That's when you're like, oh, did I say 2 times a month? I meant 20.
Yeah. Jeez.
I finally have health insurance again, so.
Oh, congrats. That's good. That's less stress. Okay.
After like since May.
Basically,
I haven't since May.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna bounce and thank you for coming. Okay, bye everyone.
All right.
See ya.
And bye here. And thank you for watching. And thanks for anybody who